Captain Leo Marsden stood rigid, eyes locked on the expansive viewscreen that dominated the front wall of the command center aboard the Vanguard. Stars scattered across the black canvas of space, a silent witness to the solitude of deep space exploration. The command center, usually alive with the low murmur of officers and the soft beeps of active workstations, was unusually quiet for this shift. Leo sipped his lukewarm tea, a poor substitute for the robust coffee he preferred, reflecting on the monotonous routine that had marked their journey so far. The Vanguard was days away from the nearest spaceport, floating in a sector so uneventful that the most excitement came from recalibrating the navigation sensors to avoid micrometeorites. Suddenly, the calm was shattered by a sharp, piercing beep. It wasn't the usual alert signal that the crew was trained to respond to with practiced motions. This was something new, something urgent. Leo set his cup down with a clack against the console, his heart rate notching higher. "Report!" he barked, swiveling in his chair to face Ensign Milo, who was already tapping rapidly at his station. "Sir, we're picking up a signal. It's unlike anything in our databases," Milo replied, his voice a mix of confusion and excitement. The young officer adjusted his glasses, a nervous tick, as he worked to isolate the sound. Leo rose and approached the main console, his presence commanding yet unobtrusive as he observed over Milo's shoulder. The screen displayed a series of waves, each pulse an echo across the cosmos reaching out to them. It was rhythmic, almost intentional. "What's the origin?" Leo asked, his mind racing through possibilities. Space debris, a distress beacon, or something far less benign. "It's coming from an uncharted region, approximately 300 light-years away in the Delta Quadrant," Milo responded, zooming in on the star map displayed on another screen. The sector was marked with red, indicating unexplored territory, a void on the map filled with potential and danger. Leo's gaze hardened. This could be a malfunction, a stray comet passing a relay station, causing it to send false readings, or it could be the first real test of their mission's directive: seek out and explore unknown signals in deep space. "Enhance the audio, let's hear it," Leo commanded. Milo nodded and adjusted the settings. A series of tones filled the room, low and melodic, undeniably artificial. This was no random transmission. It was a clear, calculated broadcast. A cold shiver ran down Leo's spine as he listened. Whoever or whatever sent this signal had technology that was possibly beyond their own. "Prepare a recon team. I want options on my desk in 10 minutes, Leo ordered, turning to address his crew who had gathered around, drawn by the peculiar development. His voice was firm, carrying the weight of command and the thrill of the unknown. As the team scrambled to obey, Leo turned back to the stars displayed before him, the signal's melody replaying in his mind. They were no longer alone in this sector, and their mission was about to change dramatically. This signal was not just a call, it was a challenge that humanity was now bound to answer. As the Vanguard system sparked to life, the stale air circulated anew, carrying a metallic tang mixed with the residual warmth of the reactor beginning to thrum quietly beneath the deck. Leo Barnes watched the displays flicker, color returning to what had been lifeless gray interfaces. "Welcome back, Vanguard," Leo spoke, his voice carrying a mix of reverence and challenge. No reply came, the AI still cloaked in its silent assessment of the situation. He navigated through the command center, each step deliberate, feeling the slight vibrations through the soles of his boots as the ship tested its long-dormant systems. The walls, once dark and uninviting, now pulsed with soft light, guiding his path to the core of operations. At the main control hub, Leo paused, analyzing the data streaming across the multiple screens. The text scrolled faster, a cascade of commands and status updates that painted a picture of a ship eager to regain its stature. "Systems analysis," Leo commanded, his fingers gliding over the holographic interface that projected in the air before him, crisp and responsive under his touch. The ship obliged, layers of diagnostics unfurling in a symphony of beeps and clicks that replaced the need for spoken confirmations. The scent of ionized air filled the space as the air filters kicked into higher gear, scrubbing years of neglect clean. Leo inhaled deeply, his senses sharpening with the familiar smells of technology and renewal. From the shadows, a side panel slid open with a soft whoosh, revealing a robotic interface drone, its sensors flickering to life. Diagnostic support activated, awaiting input, it declared in a neutral tone, its movements smooth and calculated, not overpowering but assertively present. Run a full combat readiness report. Focus on propulsion and weaponry, Leo instructed, his gaze never leaving the central screen. The drone buzzed away, its servos whispering across the metal floor. As the systems continued to boot, Leo felt the floor beneath him shift ever so slightly, the gravitational stabilizers recalibrating. The sensation was subtle, yet profound, as if the ship itself was stretching its limbs after a long slumber. He sipped from a container of coffee he had brought aboard, the bitter liquid grounding him as he prepared for whatever the Vanguard might reveal. The taste was sharp, a contrast to the ever-sweet promise of discovery that the ship held. Suddenly the main screen flashed red, a warning signal slicing through the burgeoning harmony. Shield integrity compromised in Sector 3G, the ship's AI finally vocalized, its voice crisp and urgent. Leo's eyes narrowed, his previously relaxed posture snapping into one of alert readiness. "Show me," he demanded. The screen shifted, displaying the affected area with precision, the graphics detailed enough to show even the smallest fracture. "This isn't just about waking up an old warship," Leo muttered to himself, realizing the gravity of what lay ahead. He faced the possibility of external threats that hadn't wasted any time, ready to challenge the resurrected might of the Vanguard. Determined, he set his empty coffee cup aside, his every sense tuned to the ship that was slowly coming back to life, each beep and visual a testament to the colossal task he had undertaken. His mission was clear: prepare the Vanguard not just to exist, but to dominate the stars once again. As the Vanguard cut through the cosmic sea towards the Helix Nebula, the stars seemed to conspire in their brightness, casting an ethereal glow over the ship. Inside, the mood was a tapestry of tense anticipation and the relentless thrum of duty. Captain Leo Marsden felt the weight of the unknown pressing against him like the deep cold of space against the hull. In the strategy room, under the silent watch of distant suns, Leo convened his senior staff. The walls, bathed in the soft light of the holograms, bore witness to their deliberations. Each officer's shadow danced lightly on the surface as they moved, ghostly participants in their grave ballet. "Review the data again," Leo directed Dr. Alex Harrow, who nodded and swiped through the air, bringing up the haunting signal's waveform. "Any changes since we entered this sector?" Alex's voice was calm, yet edged with fascination. "The signal has grown slightly stronger and more coherent, as if refining itself the closer we get. There's a mathematical elegance to it, Captain. It's as if we're being drawn into a dance choreographed across millennia." Jonas Webb, standing firm with a posture that spoke of many battles, chimed in, "Let's not waltz blindly into a snare. For all we know, every step brings us closer to a trap." Leo appreciated Jonas's wariness, a balancing force to Alex's scholarly optimism. "We'll proceed with caution. But Jonas, make sure our defensive measures are covert. We're here to observe first, defend if necessary." Milo, younger and less seasoned than the others, watched the exchange with a keenness that belied his experience. He added, "Sensors are at maximum sensitivity, Captain. If anything out of the ordinary stirs, we'll know." "Good," Leo affirmed, his eyes briefly closing as he considered their next move. He felt the ship's subtle vibrations through his boots, a silent song of the engine's unremitting labor. The scent of coffee lingered in the air, a remnant of their earlier, less charged hours. Sam Chen interrupted the quiet that had settled over them. "We're approaching the outer bounds of the Helix Nebula. Visuals are about to get interesting." The crew moved to the observation deck, where the nebula's colors burst forth like a celestial painting, hues of purple and green swirling against the black. It was breathtaking, yet a stark reminder of the volatile beauty lurking within. Leo stood at the forefront, his reflection faint against the glass, a specter amidst the stars. "Visuals are stunning, but keep your eyes on the scanners. Beauty here can be deceptive. As they penetrated deeper into the nebula, a sudden flare of light blinded their sensors temporarily. The ship trembled slightly, a shiver running through its frame. Jonas reported from his station, his voice tight. "Encountered a spatial disturbance, but it's passed. Sensors rebooting now." Leo nodded, his jaw set. "Everyone, stay sharp. We're not here just to admire the view. We're here to uncover the truth behind that call." The mystery of the signal deepened, weaving through their mission like the threads of fate, unseen yet palpable. As the Vanguard steadied itself, the crew remained vigilant, their senses strained against the canvas of the cosmos, listening for the whispers of the universe that might yet reveal their true purpose in this dance of stars. As the Vanguard continued its journey deeper into the Helix Nebula, the nebula's vibrant colors swirled around them like a cosmic whirlpool. Captain Leo Marsden observed the visuals from the bridge, his eyes reflecting the nebula's eerie luminescence. The once distant celestial artwork now enveloped them, a reminder of their smallness in the vast universe. "The sensors have recalibrated post-disturbance. We're back online," Milo announced, his voice steady but with an underlying ripple of excitement. The young ensign's eyes darted between the readouts, watching for anomalies in the cosmic landscape they navigated. Dr. Alex Harrow, absorbed in his analysis of the signal, spoke without looking up. "The pattern's becoming clearer the deeper we go. There's a precision here that's hard to attribute to random cosmic noise. It's almost as if it's reacting to our presence." Leo considered this, his fingers tapping a slow, thoughtful rhythm on the metal rail in front of him. "Keep monitoring it, Alex. Any shift in pattern or frequency could be significant." Jonas Webb, always vigilant, monitored the tactical displays. "I've set up passive scans. We'll detect any movement toward us without revealing our position. If this is a trap, we won't be easy prey." The ship sailed silently through the nebula, the only sounds the soft whirs of the operating systems and the gentle shifts of the crew at their stations. The scent of ionized particles seeped through the filtration system, a tangy reminder of the alien environment outside. Navigator Sam Chen plotted their course with meticulous care, his fingers gliding over the holomap. "Approaching coordinates of the strongest signal emission. If there's anything out there, we'll find it soon." Leo nodded, feeling the tension thicken like the nebula's gases around them. The bridge's atmosphere was a mix of determination and the unspoken fears of the unknown. As they moved closer to the signal source, every shadow seemed to whisper of hidden dangers, every light shift a potential threat. Suddenly the ship jolted slightly, more a hiccup in the cosmos than a mechanical fault. The crew tensed, eyes flicking to their instruments. "It's a gravitational wave, residual from a celestial event. Nothing to worry about, but let's stay alert," Sam reported, his voice a calm contrast to the brief stir of adrenaline that had shot through the bridge. Leo's gaze returned to the viewport, watching the nebula's dance. The beauty of it was undeniable, yet beneath its allure lay the mysteries they had yet to unravel. This signal, deliberately woven into the fabric of the nebula, was calling them, and he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down like the gravity of an unseen star. "Prepare all departments. We might be making contact, or we might be walking into a centuries-old echo. Either way, we'll find answers," Leo declared, his resolve firm. The crew's response was a unified nod, each member ready to face whatever secrets lay hidden in the heart of the Helix Nebula. As the Vanguard edged closer to their destination, the signal strengthened, a symphony of strange, melodious pulses that seemed both alien and eerily familiar. They were close now, close to whatever awaited them at the heart of the signal, ready to face the unknown with a courage born of curiosity and a hint of caution. The Vanguard crept closer to the origin of the mysterious signal, piercing the dense nebula's veil. Its shadowy tendrils retreated, revealing a darkened celestial object that hadn't appeared in any prior scans. A hidden planet, shrouded in the nebula's embrace. The sight was unexpected, the planet's silhouette barely discernible against the nebula's vibrant backdrop. Captain Leo Marsden stood silent at the bridge, his crew equally hushed as the celestial body loomed larger in their view. The planet's surface, glimpsed through breaks in the swirling cosmic gas, hinted at geological tumult. Volcanic peaks shrouded in dark clouds, casting long shadows over barren, icy plains. "Visuals coming through clearer now," Sam Chen reported, his voice subdued, echoing slightly in the tense atmosphere of the bridge. The planet's eerie beauty unfolded before them, a stark contrast to the warm, controlled environment inside the Vanguard. Dr. Alex Harrow peered at the data streaming in, his brow furrowed. "The signal's definitely originating from there. It's stronger than ever but hasn't varied in its sequence. It's like a beacon, constant and unwavering." Leo nodded, feeling a chill that wasn't due to the ship's regulated air. Could it be automated? He pondered aloud, the idea unsettling in its implications. An automated signal suggested long-abandoned origins, or worse, a trap left waiting. Milo, adjusting the sensors to penetrate the planet's dense atmospheric interference, added, "I'm picking up traces of complex compounds in the atmosphere. There's life, or there was once. Scans aren't clear enough yet to tell more." Jonas Webb, always focused on security, chimed in, his tone cautious. "We need a closer look, but let's not drop our guard. We should deploy a probe first, see what's waiting for us down there." Leo agreed with a firm nod. "Do it. Prepare a drone for immediate launch. Full spectral analysis and visual sweep. I want to know what we're dealing with before we consider boots on the ground." As the drone departed from the Vanguard, slicing through the nebula's gaseous layers toward the mysterious planet, the crew watched its progress on the main screen. The drone's feed crackled with static as it descended through the thick clouds, the visuals sporadic but gradually clearing as it approached the surface. The silence of anticipation hung heavy in the air, the crew's collective breath seemingly held as they awaited the drone's findings. When the image stabilized, the planet's surface revealed itself in greater detail. Cracked and barren fields stretched out, leading to what appeared as ruins, remnants of structures whose purposes were lost to time. Leo's heart raced with a mixture of dread and exhilaration. The ruins hinted at civilization, at stories untold. "Looks like we found the ghosts of a forgotten world," he murmured, his voice a whisper against the soft whirring of the ship's systems. The drone hovered over a particularly intact structure, its design unfamiliar and complex. And then, without warning, the feed shimmered and went dark. "Signal lost," Milo announced, his words slicing through the tension. "No readings from the drone. It's as if it just vanished." The bridge was silent, the mystery of the planet deepening, its secrets cloaked not just in shadow, but now in silence. Leo faced his crew, his resolve hardening. "Prepare for surface exploration. We're not leaving until we uncover what's hidden here. This planet has stories to tell, and we're going to listen." As the Vanguard's crew prepared for surface exploration, Captain Leo Marsden gathered his team in the briefing room. The walls, lit by the soft glow of tactical displays, cast long, contemplative shadows across their determined faces. "We've lost the drone under mysterious circumstances," Leo began, his voice steady but charged with an undercurrent of urgency. "This doesn't change our mission. If anything, it's a clear sign that we need to uncover what's down there." Jonas Webb, always vigilant, reviewed their armament status on his datapad. "We're equipped for whatever we might face. The surface team will carry standard recon gear plus enhanced defensive tech. I'll lead the ground operation." Dr. Alex Harrow, intrigued by the planet's secrets, interjected, "Let's not forget the scientific objectives. Whatever caused the drone's disappearance could be crucial to understanding this planet. I've prepared remote sensors that can withstand extreme conditions." Leo nodded in agreement. "Alex, you'll coordinate with Jonas. Science leads, but safety is paramount. Sam, keep the ship in geostationary orbit directly above the landing site. We need a quick extraction protocol ready." The crew's preparations were meticulous, a symphony of checks and balances. The scent of ionized air filled the Vanguard as they suited up, the tangy trace mingling with the more earthy odors of lubricant and metal, each component readied for the unknown. Descending to the planet's surface in a shuttle, the team felt the weight of the alien world pulling them closer with every passing moment. As they penetrated the cloud layer, the ruins glimpsed by the drone came into stark relief against the desolate landscape. Structures, geometric and imposing, stood as silent sentinels to a bygone civilization. Touching down, Jonas led the team out, their boots crunching on the gravelly soil. The air was thin, breathable, but carrying a faint metallic taste that hinted at the planet's rich ore deposits. The silence was profound, broken only by the soft hiss of their suit ventilators. Milo, monitoring from the shuttle, relayed their surroundings back to the Vanguard. All vitals are green. Be aware, though, readings suggest an electromagnetic anomaly close to the ruins. As they approached the nearest structure, a chill ran through them, not from the cold, but from the eeriness of the desolate world. The ruins felt almost alive, the shadows cast by their flashlights seeming to move of their own volition. Jonas's voice crackled through the comms, alert and focused. These markings, they're not just decorative, they're symbolic, possibly language. We need photos and samples. Alex, while examining a particularly intricate glyph, paused. There's a pattern here that mirrors part of the signal we received. This can't be coincidental. The ground beneath them trembled suddenly, a low rumble that sent a shiver through the planet's crust. The ruins vibrated, dust and small pebbles dancing on the ancient stones. Seismic activity? Jonas questioned, steadying himself against a solid structure. Not like any quake I know, Leo replied, scanning their environment. Everyone, stay alert. We might not be as alone as we think. The mystery of the planet deepened, each glyph and tremor a piece of a puzzle they were only beginning to comprehend. As they collected data and samples, the planet seemed to whisper secrets in a language lost to time, promising revelations that might change humanity's understanding of the cosmos. The air grew colder, the wind carrying a haunting melody that sounded eerily like the signal they had followed into the nebula. As the haunting melody carried by the wind faded into the alien night, the crew of the Vanguard felt an unsettling shift in the atmosphere. The ground beneath them, recently quivering with seismic whispers, now lay suspiciously still, as if the planet itself held its breath. Above, the nebula's glow cast eerie, undulating light patterns across the ruins, making the shadows appear to pulse with life. Captain Leo Marsden adjusted his helmet, his breath forming a faint mist on the visor, the cold of the planet seeping into his bones. "Jonas, report," he called into the comms, his voice echoing slightly in the expansive desolation that surrounded them. "Structural integrity of the ruins is sound, Captain. No immediate hazards from the tremor, but I'd say this place is far from stable," Jonas replied, his tone cautious yet deeply curious. He ran his gloved hand along the carvings, the textures rough and chilled under the touch, imbued with the history of a civilization long silent. Dr. Alex Harrow crouched near a particularly ornate glyph, his portable scanner casting a blue light over the surface. "These symbols are starting to repeat. It's like a language, and I think it's telling a story. Maybe a history or a warning," he speculated, his words stirring a mix of excitement and dread in the air. The taste of metallic air grew stronger as the night deepened, a tangible reminder of the planet's alien nature. The crew's lights played over the ruins, illuminating the intricate architecture and the sprawling glyphs that adorned every available surface. Milo, still on board the shuttle and acting as their link back to the Vanguard, updated them with regular scans. "Energy readings are fluctuating with the temperature drop. It's nothing dangerous yet, but I recommend not staying surface-side for too long after dark." Leo nodded, processing the multitude of sensory information that bombarded them. "Let's collect what we can and prepare to move out. We need to analyze these findings back on the ship where it's secure. Jonas, Alex, wrap up your assessments." As the team complied, gathering their collected samples and documenting the glyphs with their cameras, a soft rustling sound halted their movements. It was subtle, almost drowned out by the wind, but unmistakably deliberate. Turning toward the sound, Leo signaled for quiet, his hand raised. The crew froze, every sense heightened, their breaths shallow as they listened. The rustling came again, closer this time, accompanied by a faint clattering, like stones being gently shifted. "Something's out there," Jonas whispered, his hand instinctively going to the sidearm at his belt. Or someone. Leo's eyes narrowed as he scanned the dark periphery of their light beams. "No sudden moves. We don't know if it's hostile or just the local wildlife, if there is any. Alex, anything in those glyphs about fauna?" "Still translating, but yes, there might be references to sentient guardians of these ruins. The context isn't clear yet," Alex replied, his voice tinged with frustration and fascination. The mystery of the planet deepened with every passing moment, the ruins now not just a site of archaeological interest, but potentially a threshold to undiscovered life. Leo made a decision, his resolve firm despite the unknowns. "We're pulling back to the shuttle. We'll secure the perimeter and monitor the area overnight. First light, we reassess our situation." With careful, measured steps, the team retreated, the sounds of their departure mixing with the mysterious stirrings of the planet, each member acutely aware of the eyes that might be watching from the shadows of the ancient structures. Retreating to the shuttle under the cloak of an alien night, the crew of the Vanguard maintained a vigilant silence. The only sounds the crunch of gravel under their boots and the whisper of the cold wind that swept through the ruins. The mysterious rustling that had halted their expedition moments earlier had ceased, leaving only questions in its wake. Captain Leo Marsden secured the hatch of the shuttle behind them, his eyes scanning the monitors that displayed various angles of the desolate landscape outside. The sense of being watched was palpable, a prickling on the back of his neck that he couldn't shake. "Keep the cameras rolling. Whatever's out there might decide to show itself once we're confined," he instructed Milo, who nodded and adjusted the surveillance settings to maximum sensitivity. Inside the shuttle, the air was heavy with the tang of metal and the faint residue of fear. Dr. Alex Harrow huddled over his portable scanner, the glyphs they had recorded glowing eerily on the screen. "There's mention of guardians, possibly figurative, possibly not. It's cryptic, but it's clear these were sacred grounds," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Jonas Webb checked and rechecked their weapons, his movements methodical, a calming ritual in the face of the unknown. "We'll take shifts watching the feeds. Whatever this planet hides, it hasn't faced anything like us before," he stated, a firm edge to his voice that did little to mask the underlying tension. The night passed slowly, each hour stretching longer than the last. The winds outside howled mournfully, carrying with them the chill of uncharted space and the scent of ancient dust stirred by their recent passage. The team took turns monitoring the surroundings, but the dark kept its secrets, revealing nothing more than the occasional shift of shadows under the restless nebula light. As dawn broke, the planet transformed. The first rays of the distant sun painted the ruins in hues of gold and amber, the beauty stark against the backdrop of their nocturnal anxieties. With the light came a renewed sense of purpose, and Leo convened the team for a morning briefing. "We didn't travel all this way to be scared off by a few strange noises," Leo declared, his gaze sweeping across his crew, taking in their resolute yet weary faces. "We go back out there. We find out who or what is watching us, and we solve this puzzle." Nods of agreement met his words, each member drawing strength from his resolve. They prepared once more to step out into the alien world, the crisp morning air snapping more sharply than the night's whispering breezes. Stepping out onto the alien soil, the change in the atmosphere was immediate. The planet seemed less foreboding by daylight, the ruins less like specters and more like beacons. Yet the mystery remained, deep and impenetrable, waiting just beyond the reach of their sensors and scans. As they approached the largest of the structures, the ground beneath them vibrated subtly, a silent echo of the previous night's tremor. This time, however, it was accompanied by a sound, a low, resonating tone that seemed to emanate from the very stones of the ruins. "It's responding to us, or to the daylight," Alex noted, his scanner flickering with new data as they neared the source of the sound. The crew halted, watching as the entrance to the structure, an archway carved with the same glyphs they'd studied, pulsated gently with a light that had no visible source. It was as if the planet itself was waking up, acknowledging their presence with a greeting that was both an invitation and a challenge. "Looks like we're expected," Jonas said quietly, his hand resting on his sidearm out of habit more than intention. With a cautious step forward, Leo led his team into the heart of the ruins, each member keenly aware that the answers they sought might just reshape their understanding of the universe. As the crew of the Vanguard stepped through the pulsating archway, they entered a chamber that seemed untouched by time. The air was cool and dry, preserving the room as though it were a sacred relic. Intricate carvings adorned the walls, depicting celestial alignments and strange, humanoid figures in various poses of communication and worship. Captain Leo Marsden led the way, his boots echoing softly on the stone floor, each step stirring up the faint scent of earth long undisturbed. The light from their torches caught on small flecks of mineral in the stone, making the walls shimmer with a ghostly luminescence. Dr. Alex Harrow couldn't hide his awe as he traced the carvings with his fingers, the glyphs vibrant under the soft glow of his handheld scanner. "These aren't just decorations," he whispered, almost reverently. "They're a story. This place is a library, or maybe a sanctuary." Milo, who had been monitoring the energy readings, looked up from his device. "There's a pattern to the energy flow here. It's not random. It's almost like a circuit pulsing through the room. It's getting stronger towards the center of the building." The team moved deeper into the structure, drawn by the increasing energy readings. The air grew slightly warmer as they progressed, the very stones seeming to hum with a latent power. Jonas Webb remained vigilant, his eyes scanning the shadows that danced along the edges of their light. "Let's keep our focus. This place might be more than just ruins," he cautioned, his voice a steady rumble in the quiet. As they approached the heart of the structure, the ground beneath their feet began to vibrate softly, a subtle thrumming that could be felt more than heard. The chamber ahead was bathed in a soft, otherworldly light that didn't flicker like their torches, but glowed steadily, emanating from a crystalline object at the room's center. The crystal, large and multifaceted, pulsed with a light that painted the room in hues of blue and green. It sat upon a pedestal, which was itself a marvel of engineering, carved from the same stone as the walls, but intricately patterned with the familiar glyphs. Leo stepped closer, his presence seemingly acknowledged by an increase in the light's intensity. "It's reacting to us. Or to me, specifically," he noted, pausing to glance back at his crew. "It might be keyed to human presence or something about us specifically." Alex approached, his scanner in hand, eyes wide with curiosity. "Let me try something," he said, adjusting his device to synchronize with the frequency of the crystal. As he tweaked the settings, the light expanded, illuminating more glyphs on the surrounding walls. "These glyphs tell of an ancient journey, of beings that left their world behind in search of new stars," Alex interpreted, his voice filled with wonder. "This crystal could be a part of their technology, maybe a map or a key." Leo considered their next move. "We need to understand how to interact with it without causing damage. It could hold answers to the civilization that built this place, and possibly others." The mystery of the planet deepened, weaving a complex tapestry that connected the present crew to the ancient echoes of the past. Each glyph, each pulse of the crystal, seemed to draw them closer to understanding the profound legacy of the stars and their place within it. As Dr. Alex Harrow fine-tuned the settings on his scanner, trying to synchronize with the crystal's pulsating light, a sudden clarity washed over the chamber's glyphs. The walls, once mere relics of a forgotten past, now seemed to narrate a vivid saga of interstellar travel and profound discoveries. Captain Leo Marsden watched, mesmerized, as images of star maps and unfamiliar galaxies appeared holographically above the crystal, projected into the air with startling clarity. Jonas Webb stood guard by the chamber's entrance, his attention split between the unfolding spectacle and the silent, watchful darkness of the corridors behind them. His hand rested lightly on his sidearm, comforted by its presence, yet hoping its use would not be necessary. The technology here, It's not just advanced. It's beyond anything we've imagined. This crystal. It's an archive, a beacon sent through the ages, Alex murmured, his voice tinged with awe. The air around them seemed charged with the weight of their discovery, each breath they took filled with the dust of ages and the faint metallic tang of alien minerals. Leo leaned closer to the luminous display, his shadow intersecting with the ghostly light of the star maps. These paths, they could be trade routes, or maybe migration paths. This civilization wasn't just settling. They were exploring, reaching out. Milo, ever the vigilant observer, kept an eye on the data streaming in on his handheld monitor. There's a pattern to the pulsing now. It's almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Every time we discover something new, it intensifies, as if it's reacting to our understanding. As they delved deeper into the glyphs, the light from the crystal grew brighter, enveloping them in a cocoon of azure and emerald hues. Shadows played across the walls, making the ancient stone seem alive, whispering secrets long kept. Suddenly, the chamber shook. A subtle, grinding tremor that sent small pebbles clattering across the floor. The air grew cooler, and a distant echoing sound reached their ears, not unlike the wind they had heard outside, yet undeniably different. Structural integrity of the chamber is still holding, but these tremors are increasing in frequency. We might not have much time, Jonas said, turning his gaze back to the internal readings on his device. Leo nodded, his mind racing with possibilities and dangers. Let's gather as much data as we can. We need to understand their purpose here and how it ended. Alex, see if you can extract coordinates or any reference to their destination. As Alex complied, manipulating his scanner over the complex interface of the crystal, the holograms flickered, then stabilized, revealing a new set of images, detailed depictions of a massive, gate-like structure, unlike anything on the planet they were on. This might be a portal, or a gateway of sorts, possibly to other worlds they colonized or explored, Alex suggested, his excitement palpable. The mystery of the planet deepened, pulling them further into its ancient narrative. The gateway suggested not an end, but a passage, a continuation of a journey that might span galaxies. Leo's decision was swift. We need to find this gate. If it's still operational, it could open paths not just through space, but potentially through time. With renewed purpose, the team prepared to leave the chamber, each member keenly aware that they were not just uncovering history, they were walking in the footsteps of pioneers, possibly paving the way for humanity's next great leap into the unknown. The crystalline map flickered one last time before the projection dissolved into the chamber's dim glow. Captain Leo Marsden straightened, his mind racing. If the ancient structure depicted in the glyphs still existed, it could hold the answers they had been chasing, or it could be a tomb, sealed away for a reason long lost to time. We move now, Leo ordered, his tone firm but measured. If that gateway is real, I want to see it before anything else on this planet decides to wake up. Jonas Webb led the way out of the chamber, his weapon gripped tight but relaxed, ready for anything. The ruins stretched ahead of them like a skeletal labyrinth, the early morning light filtering through fractured archways and crumbling towers. Wind funneled through the passageways, carrying with it a deep reverberating moan that seemed less like air moving through stone and more like something whispering from the past. Milo checked his scanner as they navigated the terrain. I'm picking up a faint power source. It's weak but consistent, about 2 clicks northwest. Leo glanced at Dr. Alex Harrow. Could be the gate? Alex adjusted his readings. Possibly. If anything on this planet is still functional, it'll be there. The energy signature is steady, which means it's either drawing from a self-sustaining source or something is maintaining it. They moved carefully, every step crunching over uneven rock and brittle remnants of what might have once been roads. The air carried the distant scent of damp minerals and something older, a fragrance that clung to the ruins like a forgotten memory. As they crested a jagged incline, the landscape beyond revealed itself. The remains of a vast circular structure lay partially buried beneath layers of sediment and shattered debris. Colossal pillars lined its perimeter, some toppled, others still standing like silent sentinels guarding a secret the world had abandoned. "There it is," Jonas muttered, lowering his binoculars. "Looks worse for wear, but if it's still giving off power, something inside might still work." The descent into the ruins was slow and deliberate. Every footstep sent loose pebbles skittering down the incline, their echoes swallowed by the endless stillness of the valley below. As they neared the gateway, the power readings spiked. The air itself felt different, charged, as if the molecules vibrated just slightly faster than they should. Leo ran his gloved hand over the nearest pillar. The stone was smooth, unnaturally so, untouched by the erosion that had claimed the rest of the ruins. "This wasn't built like the other structures. This material is still intact." Alex knelt beside the base of the gate, his scanner working furiously. "The energy is pulsing through veins in the structure, some kind of ancient circuitry. If we can activate it, we might be able to see what it was meant to do." Jonas tightened his grip on his weapon, eyes scanning the shadows beyond the gate. "Or we might bring something back that shouldn't be here." Leo exhaled, staring into the depths of the broken monument. Only one way to find out. Captain Leo Marsden stepped toward the towering gateway, the air thick with a static charge that prickled against his skin. The stone pillars loomed over them, ancient yet untouched by time's usual decay. Whatever force had preserved this place still lingered, pulsing beneath the surface like a slumbering beast. Dr. Alex Harrow crouched near the base, his scanner flickering with erratic readings. "The energy signature is intensifying," he murmured. "It's responding to something. Maybe us." Jonas Webb adjusted his stance, eyes scanning the perimeter. "Or maybe it knows we're here." Leo ran his fingers across the smooth carvings embedded into the stone. The glyphs, unlike the others they had encountered, were layered, overlapping as if rewritten over generations. The patterns twisted in ways that made no logical sense, yet they conveyed something deliberate. A sharp, mechanical chime rang through the ruins. The sound was neither organic nor entirely artificial, but something in between. The gateway trembled in response, fine dust cascading from its arch as the glyphs began to glow, pulsing in a rhythm that mimicked a heartbeat. Milo's voice crackled over comms from the shuttle. "Captain, whatever you're doing, the energy spike just tripled. I'm detecting gravitational fluctuations centered on your location." Leo exchanged a glance with Alex. "That confirms it. This isn't just a structure, it's a mechanism." Alex nodded, his eyes darting between the scanner and the gateway. "It could be a portal. If it activates fully, it might stabilize into something traversable." Jonas tightened his grip on his weapon. "And if it doesn't? What if this thing isn't meant to open, but to keep something in?" The question lingered in the air, unspoken fears crystallizing into possibility. The pulsing glyphs brightened, bathing the ruins in a soft, golden light. A low resonance rippled through the ground beneath them, deep and guttural, as if the planet itself was exhaling. Then the gateway came to life. From its center a rift formed, a vertical seam in reality, bending light unnaturally, twisting the space around it. It was neither fully open nor completely closed, shifting in a way that defied comprehension. Shadows flickered within the distortion, stretching and recoiling as if something on the other side stirred. Leo felt the pull, not physical, but something deeper, like the gravity of an idea forcing itself into his mind. He could hear it, a whisper without sound, a presence pressing against the edges of perception. Alex stumbled back, shaking his head as if trying to clear static from his thoughts. "That's not just energy. There's something sentient about this." Jonas moved beside Leo, his voice lower now. "Captain, we need to decide fast. If something comes through that gate, we may not be able to send it back." Leo held his ground, staring into the shifting rift. He had spent his life chasing the unknown. Now the unknown had finally turned its gaze upon him, and it was waiting. The rift pulsed, a shifting wound in reality that bent light unnaturally, distorting the ruins around it. Captain Leo Marsden took a measured step back, steadying himself as the energy rippled through the air. It wasn't just a gateway. It was an invitation, or a warning. "Jonas, secure the perimeter," Leo ordered, his voice controlled but firm. "If anything steps through, I want us ready before it gets the chance to react." Jonas didn't hesitate. "Understood." He signaled the team, positioning them in a staggered formation around the archway. Their rifles, set to a high-frequency pulse mode, were designed to disrupt energy fields and neutralize organic threats alike. If something hostile emerged, they wouldn't be caught flat-footed. Dr. Alex Harrow adjusted his scanner, his brow furrowing as he interpreted the erratic readings. "This isn't just a stable construct, it's dynamic, shifting with external inputs. I think our presence is altering its function." Leo processed the implications. "So it wasn't active until we arrived. What does that tell us?" Alex hesitated. "It's either a fail-safe or a test." Milo's voice crackled through their earpieces from the shuttle. "Captain, energy output is increasing. If it keeps ramping up, the gravitational field might destabilize the area." Leo considered their options. The gateway was a risk, but so was leaving it unchecked. If it collapsed, it could take a portion of the ruins with it, or worse, release something uncontrolled. He turned to Jonas. "Set up charge beacons in a containment pattern. If we need to shut this thing down fast, I want a fallback measure in place." Jonas nodded, placing the beacons strategically around the gateway. Each device emitted a controlled electromagnetic pulse, capable of severing an unstable energy field before it spiraled beyond containment. It wasn't foolproof, but it gave them leverage. Leo shifted to Alex. "If we assume this is a test, what's the next step? What would the original creators have expected?" Alex exhaled, studying the glyphs once more. "It's responding to us, to our presence. If we input the right sequence, we might be able to access its intended function. If we're wrong, well, we could trigger something we can't reverse." Leo's jaw tightened. "Then we don't guess. We decipher." The team worked swiftly, Alex and Milo feeding calculations into their scanners, while Jonas and his unit held position. The air was dense, charged with an unseen force that made the skin prickle. Every breath carried the metallic tang of the ancient ruins, as if the planet itself was waiting for their next move. Then, a shift. The gateway's light stabilized, its erratic flickering coalescing into deliberate patterns. The ground beneath them steadied, and for a moment, all was silent. Alex straightened. "We did something. It's recalibrating." Leo locked eyes with Jonas. "Get ready. If something is coming through, this is when it happens." The rift shimmered, and the first shadow moved. The rift twisted, its shimmering edges stretching as the first silhouette emerged. The figure was humanoid but elongated, its features obscured by the shifting energy field. Captain Leo Marsden felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just discovery, it was confrontation. "Hold position," he ordered, voice firm but measured. The Vanguard's crew formed a defensive arc, their weapons lowered but primed. The last thing they wanted was to provoke something they didn't understand. Dr. Alex Harrow's scanner flickered with unstable readings, the energy field distorting every attempt to classify the entity. "It's composed of both organic and non-organic matter," he murmured. "No immediate hostility detected. But it's not fully here. It's like it's testing the boundary." Jonas Webb, positioned at Leo's side, kept his focus locked on the emerging figure. "Captain, we need to decide fast. If that thing stabilizes and isn't friendly, we're boxed in." Leo assessed their positioning. The ruins provided limited cover, but their planned fallback route remained clear. "We control the pace," he decided. "Alex, can we modulate the containment beacons? If this turns bad, I want the option to disrupt that rift without collapsing the structure." Alex adjusted his settings. "I can modify the pulse output to force a partial shutdown, enough to sever the entity's link without destroying the gate. But if it resists, we'll need more than a power surge to contain it." The figure stepped fully through. Its form solidified, tall, clad in material that shimmered like liquid metal. Its eyes, deep-set and reflective, regarded them with an intelligence that sent a chill through the team. It exuded no immediate aggression, but neither did it radiate welcome. Leo took a deliberate step forward, keeping his movement slow. "Can you understand us?" The entity tilted its head, the gesture eerily human. Then, in a voice layered with distortion, it spoke. "You are not the first." The words hit like a shockwave. Leo's fingers tensed at his side. "Explain." The figure's gaze drifted over them, assessing, measuring. "You follow paths long abandoned. You activate what should remain silent." Milo's voice came through the comms, laced with urgency. "Captain, we're getting a secondary power surge. Something else on this planet is waking up." Leo kept his expression unreadable, but his mind was already processing contingencies. "Jonas, expand our perimeter. We need to know what else is moving before we make another step." Jonas gave a sharp nod, signaling his unit to reposition. The alien's eyes followed their movements, but made no move to interfere. Alex whispered, "Captain, I think it's waiting." Leo exhaled slowly. "For what?" The entity answered without hesitation. "For your decision. You came seeking answers. Will you claim them, or will you run?" The rift behind the figure pulsed again, no longer a fractured portal but an open passage. Whatever choice they made next would determine the fate of not just their mission, but possibly much more. The entity stood motionless, its reflective gaze fixed on Captain Leo Marsden. Behind it, the rift pulsed like a living thing, waiting, expecting. The weight of its words lingered in the charged air, a challenge unspoken yet deafening. "Will you claim them, or will you run?" Leo's pulse steadied. Running had never been an option. He had spent his life chasing the unknown, and now it had turned its gaze upon him. He stepped forward, unflinching. "Humanity doesn't turn away," he said, his voice carrying through the ruins like a declaration of war. "We don't walk past ghosts and pretend we never saw them. We face them, we bury them, or we bring them home." The entity did not move, but something in its posture shifted, as if acknowledging the words. "Then you will see what was taken," it responded. The rift behind it widened, revealing not darkness, but light. It wasn't a passage into nothingness. It was a window into history. Leo's breath slowed as the scene unfolded. Shadows of a long-forgotten war played out like echoes trapped in time. Towers crumbled under skies lit with fire. Figures, human in form but alien in armor, fought against overwhelming odds. Ships shattered in orbit, their wreckage scattering like dying stars. And beneath it all, captured figures, humans, forced into servitude, shackled, taken. Jonas Webb's grip tightened on his weapon. "That's not just a war. That's an abduction." Dr. Alex Harrow's voice was barely a whisper. "They were stolen from Earth, centuries ago." The images shifted, flickering between the past and the present. Those taken had built civilizations of their own, but under the watchful eyes of their captors. The enemy was unknown, unseen in the visions, but their presence was undeniable, an empire built upon stolen lives. Leo exhaled slowly. They never forgot where they came from. The entity inclined its head. "Number, and neither did we." Milo's voice came through the comms, urgent. "Captain, multiple energy signatures incoming. Ships, big ones." Leo's hands curled into fists. He turned to the entity, steel in his voice. "Is this what you were waiting for?" "This is the consequence of looking into the past," it replied. "Those who take do not expect to be remembered, but the taken never forget." The first red warning lights flashed across Jonas's visor. "Captain, they're not waiting for negotiations." Leo's heart pounded, not in fear, but in fury. Humanity had been called here, not to witness history, but to avenge it. He squared his shoulders, voice cold as the void. Then they just made their last mistake. Milo's voice cut in. "Orders, sir?" Leo turned toward the Vanguard, the fire in his eyes burning brighter than the stars. "Ready the fleet. We're not answering this signal with words." The past had called, and humanity would answer with war. The first enemy warship tore through the nebula's shroud, its angular hull gliding like a predator that had ruled unchecked for centuries. More followed, a formation of silent executioners closing in on the Vanguard's position. But this time, they were not the hunters. This time, they had awakened something far worse. Captain Leo Marsden stood on the bridge, his presence sharp as a drawn blade. "All ships, weapons live. Hold formation until my mark." Milo's voice, measured yet electric with anticipation, cut through the static. "Enemy fleet is locking weapons. They think we'll run." Leo's gaze was cold. "Then they've never met humans." The enemy moved first. Beams of searing plasma cut through the void, but the Vanguard's fleet did not scatter. Instead, they advanced. Shields flared as impacts met reinforced plating, yet the formation held, a wall of unrelenting force. Jonas Webb's voice crackled over the command channel. "We've got them in range." Leo exhaled slowly. "Make them regret it." The first volley of Earth's retaliation ignited the battlefield. Missiles spiraled through the abyss, bursting against enemy shields in violent ripples of fire. Railgun rounds, traveling at near-light speeds, punched through armor like paper, sending ruptured hulls into spirals of death. The enemy, once untouchable, was bleeding in the void. The entity from the gateway watched from the ruins, its expression unreadable. "They do not fight for conquest," it murmured, more to itself than to anyone present. "They fight because they were wronged." Dr. Alex Harrow, stationed near the relic, did not turn from the battle above. "They fight because history demands it." Aboard the Vanguard, Leo tracked the unfolding war with surgical precision. The enemy fleet, fractured and disoriented, struggled to reform. Their formations had been designed for domination, not defense. "Break their line," he ordered, voice cutting through the command feed like steel. "Jonas, push the flanks. Milo, disrupt their targeting systems. We end this now." The Vanguard surged forward, leading the final charge. Flashes of detonations painted the void, pieces of shattered warships drifting like remnants of an empire that had never known fear. Until now. Then, the largest enemy vessel convulsed with internal explosions, its core destabilizing. The final warning came through intercepted transmissions, panicked, disbelieving. They were not supposed to fight this way. Leo watched the last ship burn, his reflection flickering in the glass. "They stole our people. They erased our history. They thought we would never come." He exhaled, shoulders rolling back. They were wrong. The battlefield fell silent. The enemy was gone. Humanity stood. The entity stepped closer to the rift, the gateway pulsing with renewed energy. "This place holds many stories," it said, its voice carrying across the ancient ruins. "Today, you have written yours." Leo turned toward his crew, his people, his fleet. No more stolen children. No more forgotten wars. His gaze returned to the endless night beyond. Let the galaxy remember this day. Let them remember what happens when humanity answers a call. The SOS had been heard, and the universe would never forget how Earth responded.